Good morning.
Take your seats. Show us your energy. Come on over here, Don Raul. Come on over here. Olivia. Gianni. Who else is over there? Back there. Who's back there? Philip.
I'm good.
The first announcement of the day. Today is a very special day because today Josh Salazar made it in on time. Congratulations!
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Your wife is on time more than you. That's why I only mentioned you. So there you go. Please bow and take all the accolades. Yeah. Josh. You're funny, Josh.
Ándale.
Okay. Lo que hiciste ahora para hacerlo llegar temprano, Socorro, hazlo cada lunes. So congratulations. Congratulations. We attract what we have by the person we have become. This will put us in the right mindset. In designing a better future, the major focus of our plans should be on becoming more than what we are, more than what we currently are. If we're not happy with our current results, then the place to begin is to change ourselves. Nothing outside of us is going to be any better until we become better. It all starts from within, right? We said last week, don't blame the seed, don't blame the soil, don't blame the weeds. Sometimes you have to blame what?
The farmer.
The sower, right? The farmer, the sower, the planter, the sower. Guys, protect your heart, but sometimes it is the sower's fault. Sometimes it is. And that's why we attract what we have by that person that we've become. Everything that we have in life, the tangibles as well as the intangibles, are a direct result of who we are. The answer to the good life lies in becoming more than what we currently are so that we can attract more than what we currently have. If we lost everything tomorrow, could we replace it all again?
Yes.
The answer is yes. As a matter of fact, there are millionaires and multi-millionaires that have gone from being millionaires to being what? Broke and bankrupt. But were they able to bounce back again?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Because the $1 million, the millionaire, isn't the sum total of $1 million. It's all of their life experiences that made them that first million. So guess what? They can make another $1 million.
This weekend, me and my kids saw Dr. Walt Disney.
Walt Disney story?
Walt Disney. He was, he got it all, then
Crash.
crashed in the market.
Yep.
The market came, he crashed.
Yep.
He got owe a lot of money to banks.
Yep.
Had to get back in his feet.
And that can happen to all of us. And I'll tell you what, if you lost everything tomorrow, could you easily replace it? The answer is yes. Why? Because we've acquired those things as a result of what we are. Now, assuming that what we are has not changed, in time you'll attract all that back into your life. Everything that you've lost. The same applied knowledge, the same attitude, the same effort, the same plan will always produce the same result. This fundamental should give us cause for both elation and also to be alarmed. The elation comes from the fact that any day we choose, we can begin to make the changes within ourselves that will attract even more good things in our lives. The alarm, here's the negative, the alarm comes from the fact that unless we make those necessary changes, unless we convert our errors into disciplines, and our dreams into well-defined plans, and intelligent, consistent activity, we will always have exactly what we have right now. We will always live in the same home. We will always drive the same car. We will always know the same friends and will experience the same frustrations and setbacks that we've always experienced. Why? Because we have not changed. It will not change until we change. The results will always be predictable because results are always determined by what we are in the process of becoming. Doing more is only part of the answer. The real answer in life is becoming more. than what we are, so that our increased potential becomes an integral part of everything we do. That's how life gets better. How? When we get better. Life gets better when we get better. We cannot have more without first becoming more. And that is one of the basics. Good stuff. Before moving on from that subject, what did you hear? What did that tell you? What did that speak to you? What message did you hear? What message did you hear? What, Ramona? Right. If you don't change, nothing's going to change. Now, for some of you that are doing pretty good, here's the good news. Don't change. And your production won't change. It won't drop. You won't flunk and get out of the business. But here's the scary part, or what the book calls the alarm. What's the alarm? What's the alarm part of this equation? That when you get comfortable and you decide not to change, but you don't like your current circumstances. Here's the alarm, guys. It's not going to get any better. It's not. Why? Because you're putting in the same exact ingredients. And as it says, the result is very predictable. I went in this morning and I said, good morning to Don Carlitos. Where's Don Carlitos? Don Carlitos, ¿dónde estás? Okay, well, Don Carlitos, he came in this morning and I said, Don Carlitos, how are you doing this morning? I'm doing great. And I asked him a question. I said, were you productive this weekend? Actually, he was pretty happy. He said that he's going to be taking a listing in Palmdale. But it's a philosophical basic question that we must ask ourselves. If I ask Don Carlitos, were you productive this weekend? I must first ask myself, was I productive this weekend? And you must ask yourself, were you productive this weekend? This weekend we went out to Vegas for a birthday party and one of my wife's nieces. But even while over there, I was fielding calls, talking to people, pre-qualifying people, delegating, speaking to those that were holding my open house, so on and so forth, etc. So being productive has nothing to do with clocking in and clocking out. Being productive means, what did you do this weekend to advance your business? Now, if those of you that are sitting there in your chair going, oh my God, Jerry's asking the wrong question this Monday. Because this weekend I did Zippo. If that's you, be careful, because the alarm part of this says that if you repeat that 52 weekends out of the year, you will blow through 2018 with nothing to show. Why? Because you don't change. And if you don't change, the results will not change. You want the results to change? Well, then you need to change. What did you do productive this weekend? It's a great question. What did you do productive this week, this whole week? I hadn't met with you in this environment since last Monday. From that Monday to this Monday to today, what did you do? How many people did you speak to? How many clients did you qualify? How many prospects did you touch? How many leads did you follow up on? How many calls did you return? And how quickly? We are in a microwave society now. People will call you. Guess what? You don't call them 10 seconds later. Guess where they are? They've moved on. They've moved on. Regrettably, sometimes they've moved on and spoken to somebody else at your same office. Think about that. Shame on you for calling them back a week later. ¿Qué pasó? No es lo mismo, no es lo mismo. We talked about that last week. But think about that. What are we doing? What's our part of the formula? Is it the same? If you do the same, you're going to get the same result. Is it different? Different how? Different better? Different worse? If it's different better, because you've become something better, your results will be better. If it's different words, I would say be cautious with that. That's what this reading tells me. See, because I apply it to myself first. Then I say, here it is, I read it to you, and I ask you to share it, and Ramona responded that that's what it means to her, and Lydia responded, and that's what it means to her. But that's not what's important, what Lydia thinks and what Ramona thinks. What's important? What do you think? What do you think that it tells you? What do you think it tells you? Yes, Hector.
Two things. I know I just had a transaction with this guy named Peter, and he told me that he came in. We disclosed the deal, by the way. He came into America from England. Thank you. With only $50 in his pocket from England, and he said he landed in New York. He only had $50, and he came all the way to California. And he was telling me, very, very humble life, if you will. That he owns his house in Palisades, another one in Rancho Mirage, and he has a lot of rental properties. And he goes, it's been how? And I go, well, how did you become so successful, Peter? He goes, every time my phone rang, I picked it up. And the other thing, I think it was Les Brown was asking a young millionaire, I think he was in his 20s. And he asked him, how did you become a millionaire so young? And he said, for 1 full year, I did not watch TV. And he asked him, well, how did you know what was going around? He goes, everybody would tell me, like all the news and everything. So it's just two different inputs of how, I guess, they changed and the go get them and the attitude that you have. I always tell like other people too, like if I don't answer my phone, it's okay. There's 10,000 agents. Forget just the office. There's 10,000 agents that are registered with SRAR. Plus, we don't even know what the referral-based agents are too. So if we don't answer the phone, it's okay. Don't answer it. Someone else will. That's simple.
And you know what? That's a great point, because that person became somebody else. And if he would lose it all today, he would probably slowly but surely attract it all back into his life. Because once you've been there, they say the hardest thing to do or to make is your first $1 million. After that, the second million's a little easier. And people say, well, yeah, but just let me have the first $1 million. I'll work on the second $1 million myself. And that's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. You need to earn and make and attract. Attract. Because success is attracted. We'll talk about that next week. Okay, changing gears. We are going to speak today about sellers. Sellers, contingent on sellers' replacement property. And then we're also going to talk about sellers in terms of what options do they have, when can they pull the plug? That's a really good question. So this video, if you're watching it by video based on the Brain Trust, is going to talk about that psychology, that philosophy. So I'm going to take you into a listing presentation. You're at a listing presentation, you've done the pricing presentation, you've overcome their objections. It looks like they want to do business with you. They're about to list with you today. And then you have to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what are you going to do when you sell here? When you sell here in Pacoima, what are you going to do? And they say, what? Buy another house. Got you. So then you need to ask a few more qualifying questions. Okay, the house that you're going to buy, do you need the funds from this house in order to purchase that house? Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, the answer is?
Yes.
Yes, I do. Okay, now stop there. As a real estate professional, you now know that you dare not put them into a purchase escrow without making it contingent upon the successful close of this property. Why?
Because they need the funds to...
Not because they have nowhere to go, but why? They need the money. They need the money. Where are they going to get the money? Now, some people, don't assume that, because some people have the ability to buy, even without selling this one. But now let me take it a step further. In their mind, they're probably thinking, yeah, I have another 50 grand set aside. I can buy another property without selling this one. Maybe yes, maybe no. Well, why not? I have the money. Right. But there's another piece to this, which is what? The qualification piece. Because you literally have to qualify for 2 mortgages. The one that you're going to get and the one that you currently have. Now, whether that is that you're going to say that you're going to rent it or whatever that situation is, but it's something that needs to be dealt with. So you always want to have that conversation. This is you being the counselor. Wait a minute, Mr. Seller. You want to buy another property? Yes. Do you need the money from this property? Yes, I do. Okay, got it. So that's phase 1. So you cannot put them into a purchase escrow that is not COP, contingent upon the sale of this property. Okay? Unless they get some type of loan where they are able to buy that property from funds of another source and are not required to pay off the existing loan. In other words, they can carry 2 mortgages on their credit at the same time. Okay, now are you qualified to make that determination?
No.
No, you are not. That's where you have to bring in the lender partner and say, I need you to sit down and speak to somebody and take a look at, are you even a candidate to purchase without selling this property? Now they may say, well, Jerry, why do you want me to purchase without selling this property? And the answer is, I don't. I don't want you to purchase. I just want you to know whether you have that option or not. Because let me tell you, Mr. Seller, you're in a great position as a seller. We are in a seller's market. People are going to be fighting to buy your house. We're going to have multiple offers, possible overbids, all kinds of good stuff. Does that sound pretty positive? Sounds great?
Yes.
Sounds attractive? Let me give you the flip side now. You will then take off your seller hat and wear the buyer hat. Uh-oh. As a buyer, the tables have turned. Now you're one of the ones chomping on the bit, fighting for the very limited inventory that's out on the market. And one of the things that the seller is going to say is, I have 4 offers, great. Are any of them contingent upon the sale of any property? Well, yes, this one. Oh, I don't know if I want to go into escrow with that one. Well, why not, Jerry? Because the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Because the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And for example, if we put your property into escrow and we end up with an FHA 3.5% down buyer. Nothing wrong with that. We close FHA all day long. Let me tell you, there are listing agents out there, especially those from the old school, OG, that have not sold real estate since back, 20 years ago, and I don't know where they've been, but all of a sudden they resurface. They have a stigma about FHA. Oh no, I don't want to do that FHA thing. Because there was a time where FHA was a lot more problematic. It was. So it got a stigma around FHA. So today, you may cash out here and become a 30% down buyer. But if the person that's buying your house is 3.5% FHA, that's the weakest link. So that other seller may say, I don't want to go into escrow with this 30% down buyer. Why not? Because his buyer is 3.5%. And the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Does everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay, that's part 1. Now, part 2. To your buyer, to your 3.5% FHA buyer, what are you going to do? You are going to sell to them either contingent or non-contingent. Either concurrent or non-concurrent. Can you sell contingent and not concurrent?
Yes.
You can. You can't do the reverse. You can't sell concurrent but not contingent because they have no obligation to wait for you. But think about what those 2 words mean. The first one means I'm going to sell to you only if I find a replacement property. Now if we go to the forms and all that kind of stuff, the forms say by default that the seller has how many days? 17, is that the default? 17. Now, does that mean that you open up escrow today, go shopping over the weekend, and then in 17 days you're ready to close? No. Because one thing is contingent on me finding the replacement property. A completely separate thing is concurrent. Concurrent. To try to time those escrows concurrently. And before we used to close even 2 transactions in the same day. But now through the recordation and all this other stuff, it gets a little trickier. So you want to give yourself some time. Some time for what? Well, a couple of things, guys. This is real estate. We're teaching. Real estate. Number one, you want to give yourself some time so that you can close the first escrow and move the money. So sometimes you'll close escrow on a Monday, or let me give you another scenario. You close escrow on a Friday, Monday's a holiday, you may not see money until Tuesday. Now hold up here a second. You went in there and said, close of escrow plus 3. That means that if you close on Friday, that would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday at 5 o'clock, you better be out. How are you going to be out? If you're not even going to see any money until Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, you see money, the seller sees money, and then transfers it to the other escrow. It won't arrive there until Wednesday. And then maybe if you're lucky, you'll try to get someone to go do a special recording, drives down to the county and so on and so forth, but it's not realistic to count on that. So it's more realistic to think that you may close on Thursday. But then that seller needs to move out, so that seller needs 3 days. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Good Lord. Did I just identify a 1-week gap?
Yes.
Yes. The question is, what's my seller going to do for a week? He sold on Friday, but has to turn over the keys on Sunday, but will not be able to physically move into the replacement property until the following Sunday on those circumstances. So, there is no one solution. There is no one cookie cutter solution that works in all situations. What works is lots of what? Lots of what? Communication. Lots of communication, negotiation, and remaining flexible. You got to remain flexible. So when I sell to the 3.5% down FHA buyer, I need to say, look here, Mr. 3.5% FHA buyer, I will sell to you, and I have many options. I have 5 offers, but I'm going to select yours. But here's what I need from you. I need flexibility. I may have to make my escrow longer, because guess what? The replacement property for the house, I'll be selling the Pacoima house. I'll be moving to Simi Valley, okay? The Simi Valley property may have behind it a 30-day escrow. It may have a 45-day escrow. It may have a 60-day escrow. That may end up being 67 days. And guess what? If that's what it's going to be, you need to move over your little escrow, purchase escrow, to match with my purchase over there. Now, there are things I can't control. National holidays, days you can record, days you cannot record, fundings, payoffs, all this other stuff. Life happens to all of us. I need you to remain flexible. Now, what I do know is that I am reserving the right for 3 days to stay here at no expense. Those are free. But there's a slight possibility that based upon possession on the replacement property, I may need a couple of more days. Now, it's not expected that those other days would be free, but they need to be available. Why? I'm not going to move twice. I'm not going to move out of the house, put my stuff in storage on Sunday, rent the storage, which is usually a minimum of 1 month contract, and then go back on Saturday and take the stuff out again and move a second time. I'm not going to do it. So I need you to remain flexible. I need you to remain flexible. And this conversation is a conversation, how many times do you meet the buyer as a listing agent? Not very often. So this conversation is with who? With the agent. But you need to make sure that there's at least an email trail, an email chain that speaks to that. Because later on the buyer's going to say, agent never told me. I never agreed to remain flexible. I never agreed that you could take an extra couple days, even if I had to pay you for a rent back or a delayed possession or what have you. No. And that's where things can get a little hard. Does everybody have that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you need to manage expectations. Now, let me paint two scenarios. Come the end of 17 days, I've not found my beautiful replacement Simi Valley home. What can I do? What can I do as a seller? I can cancel. Do I have a right to cancel?
Yes.
As a seller, I have a right to cancel?
Yes.
Yes, why?
Because concurrent and contingent.
Because I have a seller contingency. There are lots of buyer contingencies, very few seller contingencies. But I poised myself where I reserved the right to sell to you only if I found a replacement property. Day 17 comes, I'm still writing offers, this and that. I turn to the buyer and say, I don't have a replacement property. You, as a buyer, have two choices. You can either A, what? Wait, or better yet, extend. Do an ETA on my seller contingency to find a replacement property. Okay? Or you can cancel. Can you cancel as a buyer?
Yes.
Can you cancel as a buyer?
Yes.
After giving me a seller's notice to perform, to remove that contingency, guess what I'm going to say? It's day 17, and buyer shows up. Hey, Mr. Seller, you need to remove that contingency on finding the replacement property. Guess what I'm going to say? Next. You don't want the house? Get out of the line. There are 4 people in line behind you. They will be patient. Well, this conversation is based on March 2018 with us being in a seller's market. If we would be in a buyer's market, the dialogue and the narrative is completely different. But we've been in a seller's market, and it hasn't changed. So until it changes, this is what I need to teach you. Then when it changes, then I'll tell you how to deal with the other side of the coin. But for now, this is what's happening. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I did not find a property. Yes, it is day 17. You can cancel. And if you cancel, do I have to give you back your deposit?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because you've performed. Guess what? The one that's not performing is who? The seller. Why?
Can't find the property.
Can't find a property yet. So you either give me more time or I'm going to bump you out. Or you can bump me out and I'll look for another buyer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But once the property is found, then that buyer's going to say, well, remove the contingency. No, hold up here. Hold up here a second. I can't remove the contingency until a couple things. You need to agree now to extend the escrow, because I didn't know how long the escrow in Simi Valley was going to be. 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. I didn't know. But now I know. Now we found the property. It's a beautiful house. The only problem, 85-day escrow. So guess what? Now you, Mr. Buyer, need to extend this escrow to close concurrently with my Simi Valley escrow, but not to exceed 90 days. 90 days? Well, I think I'll close it in 85, but I want to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. Again, managing expectations. You're not ready to do that? No problem. I'll bump you out of escrow, and then I'll find another buyer. And meanwhile, these people just need to wait until I find another buyer. Now, if I cancel on you, is there a possibility that they will cancel on me? Yes. Yes. This is real estate, guys. This is the way things really work. And on that matter, the last thing I want to say, check the calendar. 45 and 60 and 30 and all that kind of stuff mean nothing if it's a holiday or a weekend. And that can throw a whole other monkey wrench into the equation. Or if the loan, what do you mean? Oh, okay. One more thing. That's a good point. What closing, beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month doesn't make any difference. Sometimes it does. And one particular circumstance is where the seller's current existing loan is what kind of loan?
FHA.
FHA. Are you aware that an FHA loan will not prorate? Meaning, if they don't close by the end of the month, the minute they go into the first of the following month, they pay the whole month. They pay the whole month worth of interest. Now, if you know that, I don't want to close with my seller on April 2nd, I might as well close on April 30th, because it's going to cost my seller about the same. You need to put that into your head as part of the equation. Did everybody understand what I said about FHA?
Yeah.
So, on a conventional transaction that prorates, if you pay off the seller's loan on the 2nd of April, you will owe all of the interest for March plus April 1st, April 2nd on a conventional loan. On an FHA loan, you will owe all of the interest for March and all of the interest for the entire month of April. Even though you only use the bank's money 2 days. 2! That can be a difference of about $2,000 to $3,000. Be careful on that. If you have questions on that, see me as a sidebar. Go up and see escrow. They will prorate it. They will calculate it for you. How do you know if the loan is even FHA? One of the easiest ways is how? Ask the seller, that's one way. But without asking the seller, what's another way? You look at the property profile. And on the first page of the deed of trust, there's something there called the FHA case number. So if you go to the first page, page 1 of the deed of trust, and you see FHA case number, chances are that's FHA. Be careful, because if you close on the 1st, you pay the entire month. Close on the 15th, you pay the entire month. Close on the 30th, you pay the entire month. It doesn't hurt to close on the 30th and pay the entire month. It does hurt to close on the 1st and pay the entire month. Does everybody have that? Okay. Last but not least, when does the seller have an option to cancel? Well, right now I said, if you're buying seller contingent and they cannot find the replacement beautiful property in Simi Valley, the seller can cancel. But what other circumstances?
When the appraisal cannot get there, if the appraisal is lower than the sales price.
If the appraisal is lower, let's play that out. If the appraisal is lower than the sales price, does that give the seller a right to cancel?
Yes.
No. It does not give the right to cancel. It only gives them a right to cancel if?
The buyer is asking them to accept a lesser amount.
Right. So if the house is in escrow for $500,000 and it appraises for $490,000, do I as a seller have the right to cancel? No. But if the buyer then says, oh, I need you to adjust it from $500,000 down to $490,000, then I have a right to cancel. But it's not the low appraisal that gives me the right to cancel. It's the fact that you're not willing to perform and pay me the $500,000. Okay? So if the buyer's willing to pay the difference, the extra $10,000, I do not have a right to cancel as a seller. I do not. Because it doesn't affect me. You're still performing. What other circumstances can I as a seller cancel? In the event that the buyer is not performing and I have to give them a buyer's notice to perform. Now, when I say buyer's notice to perform, oh, by the way, there's the seller's purchase of replacement property form, so on and so forth. When I say buyer's notice to perform, there are many times when the buyer is not performing. Many times. Like when? Give me the most common ones.
They're not closing on time.
Yeah, well, right. Well, the first one in the first part of the phase one is usually the what? The deposit. You've not brought in the deposit. If you don't bring in the deposit on time, I can't just cancel on you. I need to give you a notice to perform. For example, an initial deposit, paragraph 3A. Hey, you're not performing. You're not performing. You have not brought the initial deposit, paragraph 3A. Then I have to give you the amount of time specified in the purchase agreement to cure that default, which by default is how many days? 3 days. 3 days for the notice of default. So even if you're late, and I say, hey, you're late, guess what? I have an all-cash buyer right behind you. I'm going to cancel on you, sell to that person. Can't do that. Can't do that. I have to give you 3 days. If after 3 days you don't cure the default, then I can boot you out and go to the next buyer. Very limited circumstances does a seller have to be able to cancel. Yes?
On the contract, you have 3 days to make the deposit. Are you saying that after the 3rd day, you get an additional 3 days?
Well, that's a very good question. So
Actually, there are two.
2? Okay. Okay, Sandra stands correct. 2 days. So what I'm saying is, you have 3 days to get your money into the escrow account, right? Is that what the purchase agreement says? Okay, if on the 3rd day you've not done it, probably on the 4th day you're going to receive a notice of buyer to perform. And then you have 2 days. So in total, yes, I guess that's 5 days. 3 for the original, 2 for the notice to perform, and then I can probably boot you out on the 6th day. And that's the way it works with everything. Removal of contingencies, inspections, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. It can be things such as escrow, evidence that your property is already in escrow. It could be a receipt for increased deposit, in case you countered them for a higher deposit. It could be you've not shown me the money, proof of funds, down payment verification. It could be the loan application letter. You haven't called Rosie and Jaime. They haven't given you the letter. If you don't give me the letter, I have to give you 2 days. Give me the letter from when it says in the contract that you need to give it to me. But if you don't give it to me after 2 days, then I can boot you. Yes, Philip, and then Lydia.
So you're saying that if on the 4th, let's say my clients don't take their money on the 3rd day, they take it on the 4th day.
Yes.
And this agent said you're canceled after the 3rd day, 2nd day, because you know how they're calling you up 24 hours later, where's the deposit, where's the deposit? And my client takes the money on the 4th day, we still have a valid escrow?
Yes. Yes. That would be like go sliding into home. Safe. You cannot get rid of them. Because in order for you to get rid of them, they need to be in default. And then you need to give them 2 days to cure the default. 2 days. After the 2nd day, if they don't cure the default, now you can cancel on them.
Well, a lot of agents don't know that. Well, we're learning that thing.
Yeah, well, most agents don't know a whole lot of anything. So that's why you guys here in this room run circles around most agents, because you know what the contract says. And then you come and ask Sandra, and then you come ask me, and then I clarify. Yes. Even though Sandra was wrong, and she said 3 days, but it's 2 days. Lydia and then Maria. Lydia.
If my buyer, if we submit an offer with conventional financing, and then is the buyer allowed to switch financing, and can the seller cancel?
It's a great question. Can the buyer switch? It's called bait and switch. Remember I said that there was like a stigma against FHA? So then the buyer gets smart and he says, let's write it up as conventional. Let's write it up as conventional. But we have no intention of going conventional. We still have to go FHA because of whatever underwriting reason. Can they go into escrow as conventional and halfway through the thing, turn it around and go FHA? They can, but if they do, 2 things come into play. Any credits that were negotiated, like a $5,000 credit, needs to be revisited. And the second thing is, the seller has no obligation to cooperate with the new program. And if you go from conventional, for example, to FHA, the seller has to cooperate. Why? He has to sign the FHA what?
Addendum.
A mandatory clause. And sometimes that's the reservation that they have. They don't want to sign the FHA mandatory clause because the FHA mandatory clause says what?
The appraisal.
If the appraisal does not come in, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you, or if the appraisal is reviewed at the end of the escrow and it gets bumped down, you have to give that buyer the ability to walk. And conventional, there isn't that in there. So if I'm a seller and you come to me with conventional and I accept your offer above all the other 4 offers that were there, and then you turn around and say, oh, I'm sorry, we're going FHA. Whoa, wait a minute, Lydia. Number 1, you lied to me. Number 2, I'm not going to agree to FHA mandatory clause. But guess what? That is not a waivable item. That's federal statute. You can't waive that. So I either swallow the pill with you and FHA and the mandatory clause, or I don't cooperate. So, did I answer your question? Maria had a question, and then I'll go to Jerry. Maria, your question was answered. Jerry.
My question is, what happens, I know it's illegal for a listing agent to obligate you to use a lender, but what happens if they're like, if you don't use my lender, I'm not going to accept your offer, and then you go into escrow, and similar to Lydia's question, that what happens if you go into escrow and then you switch lenders on them, and you go back to your lender? Is that do they have a right to cancel on you, and does the same credit thing apply?
So that's a good question, and I'll answer it a couple ways. What you see more often than not is if you go with my lender of choice, and sometimes you see that on new homes. If you go with the lender that's financing the whole track, then we'll give you a $7,000 credit for closing costs. So the first consequence is, if you decide not to go with that lender, then I'm not going to give you a $7,000 credit for closing costs. The second piece is called steering. It's a problem when, as a listing agent, you are steering people to use a particular lender. I can say, you have to go to Jaime Tapia to do a backup loan application at no cost and no obligation. However, buyer is not obligated to do business with him. No, you can keep your own lender. I just want to make sure that he's kicking the tires, popping the hood, making sure that the car is running on 8 cylinders. At no cost or expense, and at no obligation. Now, are there times where they'll say, no, you need to use my lender? There can be. It's not good business practice. I would stay away from that. And arguably, once they're in there, and sometimes they'll do that just simply because of money, because they have a financial interest in the lender. Here we don't have an in-house loan, loan operation. So we don't have a financial interest. You can use Jaime, you can use whoever you want. It's up to you. But if we would, and we have a financial interest in it, I would feel a little bit uncomfortable obligating you to come to my lender. Can somebody else do it? They probably can. If you agree to it, you can always walk away. And you probably have an debatable situation, if you decide halfway through the process that the loan officer that they're referring to you is taking advantage and overcharging. And you shop it around and you can get a better rate somewhere else. You probably have an arguable position. Now, to most sellers, it makes no difference. But sometimes it's not the seller. Who is it?
The agent.
It's the listing agent that wants to double dip. Wants to be the listing agent, wants to run the escrow in-house, and wants to do the loan through his wife or whatever. Yeah. This is real estate, guys. So once you get there, see me again and we'll revisit that. We have a question from Hector and then Sandra. Hector.
Sure, just real quick, like going back to the FHA items, for example, let's say the property's bait and switch. The loan is bait and switch. Seller doesn't want to comply with any FHA items.
Right.
Can the buyer, at the buyer's expense, I guess bring the property to FHA standards, if you will?
Can. The seller has to accept though. So for example, I'll give you one easy thing. Chipping, peeling, and cracked paint on the post in the front patio. It's not a big deal. You can do it with under $50. But that doesn't mean that I, as a seller, am comfortable allowing you to come onto my property, bring your paintbrush, and start doing the brush strokes. Maybe as a seller, I will allow you to bring on a licensed, insured, bonded person that has, workman's comp. Maybe I will allow that, maybe not. Maybe I don't want anybody to work on my property before close of escrow. But can you pay for it? Yes. Can you, as an actual buyer, do it, bring your paintbrush and everything else? Yes. Can the seller do it? Yes. It's all negotiable. Sandra.
Ok. ¿Puede el seller cancelar si se agrega un buyer o si se quita un buyer? Si se cambia el lender o si deciden bajar el depósito por alguna razón los buyers porque la diferencia la tienen en el 401k?
So I will answer that separately. Contracts in California, by their very nature, are assignable. They are assignable. So the fact that you added a buyer doesn't in itself constitute a breach of contract. All other things remaining equal, that would not give a seller the opportunity to cancel. That's the first one. The second one was what? Oh, the
Change of lenders?
change of lender. No, again, as long as, for example, if you go FHA Bank of America versus FHA Wells Fargo, it makes no difference to the seller. Is that a bumpable situation, a cancelable situation, a cause for the seller to bump you out of escrow? No. The last one, however, is very different. The last one that Sandra said was, I decided to bring in less of a deposit because at the beginning I was going to put a $10,000 deposit, but I learned that my 401k is not ready for a withdrawal until another 15 days. So for the next 15 days, I can only give you $500. No, that I can actually bump you for because you are breaking a contractual obligation, which it would be initial deposit. Initial deposit, paragraph 3A, you didn't comply with that. I'm going to have to give you the 2 days, and 2 days later, I can bump you. That's the way that works. Yes, Phil.
Can you bump somebody if they give you a pre-approval letter, everything's conventional, at the last minute, they want to change to an FHA?
No, we answered that question just a few minutes ago. That is not a reason to bump you, but it is I'm not obligated to do that. As a seller, I'm not obligated to cooperate. And FHA is one of the ones that has additional steps in there, including the FHA mandatory clause. I'm not obligated to entertain all of that. I can just hold you to the conventional loan and say, no, unless you close conventional, or unless you close FHA, but without my cooperation, you can go ahead and close FHA, just close it on time, without my cooperation, and without asking of anything from me. And sometimes that anything may be something as simple as another appraisal, because you went from a conventional appraisal to now an FHA appraisal. I don't have to cooperate with that. These are all additional things that you're bringing to the table. Okay? Yes, Tanya.
Yes, like in that case of that property that I had to deal with, that listing where the seller changed their mind, so they wanted to find something,
Right.
you know, and
The one that said he was sick?
and yeah, that was the actual case. You know how they had changed, the buyers were changing
Right.
from conventional to FHA. So she was using that as an excuse, and she thought that it was, you know, that I had the power to cancel.
Right.
That's when I brought you into the deal. So when would it be the right way to explain to the seller, at this point, you don't have a choice of just canceling? When would be the right time to say, okay?
That's a great question.
Until we open escrow, until what exactly?
So here's usually the way that I say it. I never want to obligate you to do something you don't want to do. As a matter of fact, I've been asked all the time, your listing contract, how long is it good for? 1 day. 1 day? Yes. Because I list you for 6 months or a year, it doesn't matter. Because this is on a day-to-day basis. If at any time during my listing agreement, You want to cancel, you change your mind, you want to remove the property off the market, etc., you can have your listing back. However, that completely changes the moment that you accept a buyer's offer. Now you're not in contract with me, you're in contract with a buyer. And that buyer will hold you to what you are actually signing. Once you accept an offer, there are very few ways for you to retract yourself from that process. Very few ways. So that's the point where you want to have this conversation. When you are about to accept the offer. With me, it's okay. You can cancel on me. No problem. We're still friends. I'll list it again when whatever situation you have, fixes itself. With a buyer, they're not going to be compassionate. They're going to hold you to it. Once you accept an offer. Before you accept this offer, I need to make it clear, there's no turning back. Once you accept this offer, that's it. Unless there's a contingency, like contingent upon me finding a replacement property in Simi Valley. Does that make sense? Good stuff. All right. Mr. Lopez, come on up here. What were you going to say?
Buenos dias, goodbye.
Make it quick.
Stop it.
Hector, good morning.
Hector.
Buenos dias.
Somebody's giving you a hard time? Come on up here, Rebecca. Come on up here, Rosie.
Good morning, muchas gracias. I truly appreciate, from my heart, all that you guys do, and you guys are my favorite people out here. I really love working with you. I love closing your transactions and being a part of every one of your transactions. Quick update. First, I've had some questions about the profiles we offer and the different services that will help you the best. So always remember when you order, you can go directly CS at NATNorthAmericanTitle.com. They get this stuff out. Very efficient, it's very nice looking, it's super clean. So the listing profiles, and they come with the home sellers, the home buyers, the open house, and the deeds. The deeds are detailed and they're quick. And when that really comes into play is if there's a probate or there's a recent change, it shows exactly the ownership. So read through that. If you have any questions, always text me, and I really I look forward to helping you out with the transactions, the ownership, and with you in front of your client. Next, we have the online service, and that's just what everybody has, and everybody was sent out on November 17th, a list of your username and password. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion there, and it also changes every 180 days. And that's so that if anybody has your password or it gets lost, that it's changing continually so no one can get into your personal stuff. So that's a great service. The deeds aren't as accurate, but there's a whole lot of customization in those online, and it works well for comps. And I've really been learning a lot. Different people sell it different ways. And some people leave the profile, the nice one all done up custom, and keep their listing presentation, and that's another way to follow up and work with it. And there's all different strategies and all different ways with scripts to use the profiles online and the detailed profiles that they send you. The next one is the app. The app is very good, has the same information. It does have deeds, which people had some questions. I know a number of people use that on a regular basis in here. And when you're walking your farm, you can take a picture of a property and it'll pop up what the property is because it GPSes you. Also, when you're with a buyer, it works out excellent. So if you're at a house, you can pull it up and find the information. And when you're doing your walking farm, it tracks where you've gone, tracks what houses, and then if there's a house you like, it puts it into a format that you click on it and it downloads it so you can send it out to Excel or use it in other applications. So those are the 3 good ways to use the property information. And then the NAT suite, some people get a little bit, there's a lot in the NAT suite, and this day and age we just end up with so much information, what's too much. But everybody's set up on the NAT suite. Just go online. If you have any questions, ask myself, or else if you ask Yadira, she'll be here today, and she's glad to help you, and we're good with that. I want to jump into another area on special recordings, and when we have properties that are doing accommodations. A number of people use accommodations to help their clients, and they offer it, I'll give you a free notary, and I will do this for you. The accommodations have changed dramatically as we talked in 2018.
Everyone know what an accommodation is?
Yeah.
Same with an accommodation.
Jerry uses this on a regular basis, and when somebody says, well, I want to add a trust, I want to add someone onto title, I'd like to take somebody off, those are the ideas, or those are the times you will have an accommodation. I used to be able to do an accommodation for about $15, and I would cover it and send it down, and everything was easy. With the changes in the laws, there's been a big implementation for the county for extra money. And the counties in California now take in between $1 million and $1.5 million additional per day.
Wow.
That's,
Wow.
and
Let me explain it in different words. Before, you would be able to ask Steve to send the document down, and it would be recorded free of charge. That is no longer the case. The case now is where it's going to be sent down so that they can calculate how much the recording fee is going to be. Then you turn to your clients and say, make a check for $75 out to the Los Angeles County Recorder's Office, because now your deed has been checked, it has been priced out, and I know exactly how much it is, and it's this much. And then you get that check and you turn over the check so that the whole process can move forward. Before it was here, can you just get this recorded for me, etc., etc. That is no longer available. Now you need to get a check from your sellers for the correct exact amount of what the recordation fee is, which the recordation fees have gotten to be huge. That's the $1 million that he's talking about. We don't care about it, man. What we care about is, how does it affect you? How does it affect you? You can no longer tell yourself, sure, bring me your quitclaim deed, I'll hand it over to Steve over a cup of coffee, he'll get it recorded for free. No. Now it's this other way. Go ahead. No, a very good question. When he talks about accommodating, he's just accommodating the getting of the deed, walking it down to Norwalk, getting it in front of the county clerk, getting it stamped, getting it recorded, giving you back a certified, all that whole thing is an accommodation. They call it accommodation because there's no title order. So they're saying, well, they'll do it, it's their job to do it when there's a title order. But if there's no title order and you have a quitclaim deed, then they're like, well, why are you giving me this? Oh, you want me to accommodate this and take it down and get it recorded. That's where the accommodation comes. And that's why I'm wanting him to use the real verbiage. Get the stuff recorded, get my deeds recorded. That's what he's talking about. It's a favor that they're doing, that you are probably doing for your client, which you could do it before, no expense on recordation. You can't do that anymore. Now there's going to be a fee.
thank you.
Will that generate, what's that? A reassessment? A reassessment's a big question. I'd have to have a whole other class regarding things and transfers and changes on title that trigger a property tax reassessment versus those that do not trigger it, versus those that may trigger it but may have an exemption where you can reverse it. So that will be a subject, a big subject for another day.
And to expand on the taxes, I have a contact at the county that you can call, and then they can go through the deed and tell you what it's going to be, because it could be huge when they'll reassess half of the property or reassess the whole property, and that's one part of it. Also, when you have a client and you do want to build that relationship, you can take care of the deed, and I've got a great relationship for 20 years with the gentleman who runs it, Q, and he does a phenomenal job, so we can call him, just take a picture of it with your phone, send it down, and then they'll send you back the amount, so that builds your relationship with your client. I recently have an attorney, and he did a trust, 2 of them. I put it in and out. The bill was $400 at the county.
Wow. The recordation bill.
Yes.
The recording fee. The recording fees are no longer 10 or 20 bucks. We usually would say, yeah, it's the notary, I'll do the notary for free. Recordation's 10 or 20 bucks. That's no longer the case. Just know that. Wow. Well, how much is it? Send him a photo. He'll get a price, and then now you know what the price is. These are all accommodations, favors that you're doing.
And they're excellent at getting back quick, coming up with a price, so when that comes up, let me know. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Hector, so much, and I appreciate the office. You guys have a great week.
Awesome! In closing Steve's piece, I just told you guys that the easiest way to know whether your seller has an FHA payoff is go through Steve, get a copy of the property profile, go look at the deed of trust, page 1, top part, and look for the FHA case number. And you can get that all from Steve. Rosie.
Good morning, everyone. Altera Home Loans from Northridge office. Just want to advise you guys that we're having a new application for all your borrowers and for the agents too. This application is called Pronto. It gives you information of your loan status, what conditions do we need from your borrower, and they can actually upload all those documents through their cell phone, and we can go ahead and give those conditions to their underwriter when they're requesting this information. So we're launching that out. We'll be sending everybody an invitation, whoever wants to download that application and get that out to their home borrowers. That will work out for you guys. And if you guys have any questions and qualifying anyone, please stop by, or either we can come over here and qualify them. We did bring you guys some delicious breakfast. It's a new bakery out in the San Fernando Valley. The chef who cooks this brings the flour from France and the butter from France. So their pastries are very delicious, and I recommend you guys go have some coffee and enjoy some breakfast on us, okay?
Protein Day!
Oui, oui, mademoiselle, I feel French already. Jacques in the box, the French fry. Okay, that's enough. That's all the French that I have in me. So it's a little bit of French. Come on, give me some credit here. So it's called breadology. Yeah, well, I give you the psychology and philosophy, and then Rosie will give you the breadology. And she also brings the breadology para cerrar el trato. So it's called funding the loan. Thank you for that, Rosie.
Yes, that place is very, very good. When I saw the box, I said, no! Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy that Steve brought up the topic of the accommodations, the deeds that we would record for you, on a file that probably closed some time ago, or something that you never had, a past client, or other favors we need. Because we've come across that lately, and as you remember, as I mentioned at the beginning of the year, the recording fees increased. Remember I said a deed of trust before was $80. Now it's $80 plus an additional $75. Grand deed used to be $25, $30. It's now that plus an additional $75. So that's how the recording fees, which actually I believe Steve used to pay for that when he had the accommodation. The recording fees would be $18, $20, $25. Now have increased to maybe over $100. Recently, the accommodations we've done, we've asked the clients to bring in a check payable to the LA County Recorders. And Steve does process that in the sense of he covers the messenger fee, or he himself will go down to Norwalk and get it paid and get it recorded and make sure it does not get rejected in any way. So moving forward, please keep that in mind. It's not that we're charging you $100. Make sure your client knows that it's not something that North American Title isn't charging them for this accommodation. It doesn't go to them. He doesn't pocket it. It goes directly to the LA County. And it's something new, and it's something that's probably going to be here forever, because as soon as they add a tax, that just stays there. Anyhow, I just wanted to say thank you for always choosing San Fernando Realty Escrow. We're very grateful for the business. As always, if you ever need anything on a listing, as I mentioned before, if you have a listing, please let us know so we can order the prelim, get your payoffs ordered. I recently had an agent who said, you know what, Becky, my client did a loan modification and I ordered a payoff, but it comes in like at 130, but they said something about 60,000. So what did we do? We ordered the prelim, and there's that second deed of trust that was recorded for the 60,000 of the payments in arrears. So just because, yes, which is kind of like what the loan modification is. Sometimes I'll add it to the one deed of trust. Sometimes I'll record a second deed of trust. So obtaining a payoff isn't always a solution. You need a prelim, you need to review that to see what else is recorded on the property. So don't forget to let me know or let Steve know to get that ordered for you. Thank you, everybody, and happy Monday.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. Awesome. Great, good job. We are going to start distributing. We have these in print now in order. The order. End of this week, we should probably receive these new beautiful folders that we're going to give you. So that, for example, at the point of closing, at the point of listing, etc., you have these available for you. We'll give you more details around them. They're going to have the little inserts there where you can put your card inside, so on and so forth. And on the back of it, we're going to lead with the NAREP 10. Because we want to make sure that you now talk to your clients about the NAREP 10 and how they should use this to impact their life and hopefully speak to the next generation and create generational wealth, particularly in the Latino community. So I'm very excited about this initiative. This, of course, is covered, again, by San Fernando Realty Escrow, because those are the ones that do all these extra things that we do for you guys. Yes, thank you, Becky. Awesome. So no bread from Becky, but she'll bring you the folders, okay? Okay, let me see here. Do we have Caravan? No Caravan. Okay, good. So, 5th place with 215,000, Maria Garcia. Congratulations to Maria. Very good. 4th place with 480. Oh, wait, hold on for a second. There's one announcement that I had. What is the process and procedures? It came up. What is the process and procedure for you to be mentioned on the little sales sheet every week. And what it is, and sometimes we've had our share of human error. Okay. And, but outside human error, what it should be is that the moment that you get here to the office, you write your new listings and your new sales on the board. Then the person that's working the front desk counter checks that with the previous week's production sheet, and then hopefully updates it accurately and completely. Now, have we had some mistakes? Yes, we have. But most of the time, they're just omissions. Just call it to our attention. You won't hurt our feelings. Hey, what happened? I did a sale for $500,000 and Jerry didn't mention it. He said that Hector's ahead of me with $400,000. How's that possible? If I have a sale for $500,000, I'm ahead of Hector. So, which is fine. You just point that out to us. We'll fix it, and we will next week. We'll say, by the way, Maria Garcia is ahead of Hector. Yay! Meet you, Hector. What can I say? Okay. Yes.
For the weekend's production, if we come in on Monday morning, that's already been printed, can the name be added at that time, or is it already done and it'll have to be bumped?
So what is the deadline? 8:30 a.m. on Monday?
For a meeting day.
Right. Whatever meeting day, as long as you get it in before 8:30, it'll make it its way to here. If you write it at 8:45, 8:50, probably not, because by that time the staff and everybody else is getting ready to start the meeting. But inside of the 30 minutes before the meeting, we can probably still accommodate it. Now, if it's important for you, which it's important for me, if it's also important for you to make sure you can get recognized that day, you can put on a little sticky and just say, hand this to Jerry. Or you can just hand it to Jerry directly and say, guess what? 10 seconds ago, I just received the DocuSign. I got the listing.
Yay!
And then I will add it right here as a little sticky. It won't go through the staff and this and that. I'll just say, hey, by the way, congratulations. Like Don Carlitos that said this weekend. I said, Don Carlitos, were you productive? He said, yes, I think I'm taking a new listing in Antelope Valley. So he did write it on the board. It's not there yet, but it's something that I mentioned. Why? Because we always want to honk from behind to root you forward, to keep you flapping those wings. Okay? Yes? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Beautiful. 5th place, Maria Garcia, $250,000. 4th place, actually he beat you this time, $480,000, Hector Camino Casillas. 3rd place with $575,000, Jerry and Olivia. It's Jerry. Make sure you're saying me, she's saying you, so.
No, that's the escrow with Olivia. What's that?
Oh, okay. So it's this Jerry. You're pointing at that Jerry. It's this Jerry over here. Okay, so put the junior or the senior there. You see, I get touchy about my production too. It's a little bit of diva in me. Okay, guys. 2nd place with $582,000, Ramona Padilla. Congratulations, Ramona. We're proud of you. And 1st place with $1,505,000, the Salazar Group. Congratulations. $1.5 million. Congratulations, Josh. Congratulations, Socorro. 2nd place on listings, Lucy Herrera and Armando. Congratulations with your 1 new listing. And 1st place, a 2-way tie between Sylvia Aguilar. So it's not Sylvia and Fernando, it's just Sylvia? On the listing is just Sylvia. Sylvia Aguilar without Fernando and Team Asensio. Congratulations. I'm just reading it the way it says it here, Sandra. You know, I don't know. So, let me see. Do we have any other good of the order? No. Birthdays. March 3rd, Jerry. March 11th, Alex. March 17th, Martin. March 21st, Marta Jimenez. I saw her here today. Happy early birthday. March 24th, Sandra Williams. Accepting gifts and invitations to the... Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, give me a drum roll. Here we go. Sylvia, the Salazar Group. Team Asensio. Hector, the Salazar Group. Ramona, Maria Garcia, the Salazar Group. Jerry Jr., Olivia, Team Asensio, the Salazar Group. Lucy, Armando, Lucy, Sylvia, the Salazar Group. All right, congratulations. Have a great rest of your